Thank you everybody for waiting. I'm extremely sorry. I was driving today and my trade colleagues know how bad that can be. So thank you very much to make my trip, to let me be part of this design forum. It's a great opportunity obviously, and I'm clearly in August company. Very quickly, I believe I was supposed to talk about the topsy-turvy world of success stories from past and present. I remember Dushan saying that you should talk about failures also, but I couldn't dig out anything, so I just left it as some of the success stories. So I will quickly get into the introduction of what I'm talking about today. The three areas that I would be focusing on is the customer experience, interactive technologies, what's present and what's the future, and a little bit of insight into what's happening in the new area as Cognizant works with the cutting edge technologies around the world. So I'll kind of bring some of those experiences here as we talk. And with that, let me get into something that's around us all the time, which is the ATM. So can I switch this off? So imagine if you are at an ATM and you have somebody in front of you. That's a bit of a disappointment. Imagine that person spending a lot of time doing, account checking balance, changing password, etc., etc. It gets even more irritating because you're there to quickly draw the cash and probably hop to the next place that you want to go to. So imagine if the marketers or the business partners of the bank say that it's a great place, it's a captive customer. Maybe we should be doing more there, shopping. There's something else interactive that we can do. It's great for that one person who's at the screen, but for everybody else, the wait time goes up. So that's not a great interaction idea from the bank's point of view, because for bank, that particular ATM is servicing one purpose for its customers. For the partners, obviously, there's a lot more that they would like to do. So think of it from the bank's customer's point of view. The next thing I wanted to say is that imagine the same screen, and I don't know how many of you can recall. This is the famous Hole in the Wall project, which was sponsored by NIT long back. Now the thing is that if you think of it, you could have pretty much taken the computer in the school and put it in a computer lab. It would have still worked. Children would still have access to it. But step back and think of it, that why is it that why did it have to come out? And was it only about, was it any other reason? What really happens when you actually take the screen out is that you're taking it out of the constraints of time and space. In this case, time is the school time, which is morning 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. The space is that computer lab probably, where few students go. But the moment you take it out and put it on a wall, now you have suddenly it becoming a social space where these children are actually discovering a new world, and that's what's the purpose of actually the Hole in the Wall project. And imagine not just the discovery at any point of any day, any time of the day, but bringing your friends together, and that discovery becomes even more enjoyable, and hence it's an engaging purpose. So two screens, completely different purpose. So what's happening here is that we're thinking of the screen from the particular set of consumers in that particular time, from the perspective of what we want to achieve. Some of us, or at least most of us here, recognize this, which is a nightclub. It could be any nightclub. The point of nightclub is that it's dark, it's mysterious, it hides a lot of interesting things under the hood, and that's what is the appeal of nightclubs and darkness and vampires, etc., to the young. And these associations are also towards upwardly mobile, people who like good things in life. Taking this association of nightclub, Abercrombie and Fitch, one of the famous retail brands in the US and in North America, and now they have stores in London. They created the store ambience, which is very. If you walk into the store, it's extremely dark. You can't see anything really. Only the light is actually focused on some parts of the merchandise. It also plays loud music, and the air conditioning is really low. The point is that they are targeting a certain segment of the customers, and they would like the store ambience to actually be reflective of all of those attitudes. Now, if you take the same brand online, suddenly some of the features start dropping off. What you have is luxury, you have young, you have upwardly mobile, but some of the elements which actually make the store a reason why the kids with high disposable income, whatever be the means, are actually visiting the store continuously. It still works at some level for the brand, but probably not bringing together brand experience in various channels. So what happens really is that when brands, when they're looking at going digital, or whenever they're looking at interactions which are on devices, which are not in the retail or in the offline presence, but let's say it's digital, whether it's in phone or online, etc. What they're looking is that they're looking at this interaction through a series of procedures. Can you download? Can you put some things in the cart? And these are all a set of procedures. They're looking at a customer really getting in and getting out. And imagine it to be a factory floor. So there is something that you're expecting the customer to getting in to do and get out from there. But that's not how the customer's experience with the brand is. It stems from the previous interactions that the customer has had with the brand, and it's also reflective of what their experience is going to be in the future. So to assume that that interaction is limited to that particular time is what kind of drops the ball when brands are moving from various mediums. Here I refer to the International Journal of Design and one of the research that they did. This is more from the retail perspective, but some of this is very pertinent to the practitioners of interaction design, or who are in the brand marketing space and are dealing with digital assets. If that be the case, some of the stuff that you see in blue is not, as per the research, the things that are actually there in the blue are not in the control of design. The ones that are in the gray are more in the control of design. So let me take one of the aspects, for example. So I'm here talking about, let's say, for senses, right? This probably was, like I said, this is more for the retail, but how this translates for your web interaction is that take the case of food retailing. When you walk past a store, there is this fantastic aroma of food. The flavors, etc., are kind of bursting out. They can see the food. So there are multiple senses that are coming into play, and they add to your experience and interaction to the brand at that point of time, and probably kind of drives you inside that store. But if you were to take the same food brand online, you now have a couple of senses dropped off from the kit. You can't smell. You can see the food, but you can't really take delight from the food in front of you. You can't touch it, right? So all of those senses are out. So what you really have is actually the sight and probably sound. And when you have these limited resources, how do you play around with still ensuring that your customer is, or your prospective customer is interested in what you're actually offering to them as fare? So that's something that I thought was important for us from interaction design point of view. And I will, as I talk in the case studies, I'll probably be bringing out some of these again. And here, if you were to see, what they have done is that they've broken down the experience realms into four aspects. So what they say is that when you're interacting with the brand, whatever your point of contact, you're looking for some visual delight, you're also probably looking for information, and you're definitely looking for entertainment, and also there's some bit of escapism coming in. You want to kind of forget your current time where you are in and probably just enjoy being in a different dimension altogether. If this be the case, take the beauty industry actually has great pointers for us. If you walk into a typical beauty store and Sephora, for example, you would see that there is the first thing that happens is that he's recommending that I drink some water. So the first thing that happens is that they ask women to come and try the makeup on. They want them to get into the act of looking beautiful, or enhancing or escaping into this for the moment. She's probably finished. She's had a busy work day at home. She steps out of it. For her, retail is also pleasure, and that. And this particular time, when this is her time, me time, it becomes an enjoyable experience for her. By bringing all of that together, they're actually adding value to the beauty products that they're actually selling. Because what they're saying is that this experience is now getting translated to all the products that are around you. So that's the way you'll have to interpret these experience realms. And of course, how do you translate them? The second thing about the design realms is that they are at the same time, and that's a challenge, they're both they're hedonic, because then it kind of becomes inspirational, but it also has to be satisfactory at a functional level, and it has to be utilitarian at that point of time. So how do you kind of balance these two when you're thinking of design and interaction, where you wow them with that swipe, but also ensure that that swipe leads to something that they were looking for, or they were wanting. And with some of these learnings that we have, I just thought I'd jump into some of the work that we have done and bring you real-life case studies of how we've solved for it for some of our brands or clients that we work for. This is a case study for one of the large banks in UK. The challenge there was that they were revamping the retail. They were revamping the retail presence. The reason why they were revamping the retail presence was that they wanted to be the bank of the future. And what that required is that they wanted a lot of digital, immersive kind of technologies to be there at the retail, bring all of that together with their online banking, with their mobile banking, etc., etc. The challenge that they had was that for each of the systems which was at retail and also the ones that were on the web or on the mobile, the code bases, etc., were different. They were all designed for that particular application, or for that particular screen, or for that particular client. Sorry, for that particular platform. So the first challenge was to bring together and understand how do consumers here, how do the stakeholders interact with each of these units of the brand, of the business. So here the stakeholders were developers, they were the salespeople who were using the screen which the customer would not see. There were customers who were using the screens at the bank, on the retail, on the screen right there inside the retail store. They were also using the same screen back at home when they went, to www.thebank.com. Now, we had to understand the interactions of consumers, the developers, the salespeople, and how some of the vendors are also interacting with the brand, with the client's applications. So, first task was to bring all of that together, define what these core interactions were, standardize all of them, and then create a standard code base. And what that meant was that if you saw the go button would be the same for the client, for the customer, when they saw it on the kiosk, whether they saw it on the web, on the phone, or whether the way the salesperson saw. The commercial banking unit would have exactly the same kind of interaction as the retail banking would have. So what happened next was that, so this was what was happening in the back end. In the front end, what it meant was that the screens had to be standardized such that the business user, which is the internal customer, and the external customer were seeing pretty much the same thing. So the salesperson, when he was talking to the customer, was pointing to the same set of information. And the challenge that they had was that there were a lot of customers who had not transitioned online, and they wanted them to adopt online, especially the phone banking, etc. So what we did was that in the retail store, we revamped the kiosks, we brought in iPads, and the salesperson actually was using the iPad to interact with the customer, which means that he was not behind the desk, he was actually in front, actually talking hand in hand with the customer. Two things happened. One, the customer saw the ease with which you could actually navigate on the iPad or on the screen. These were slightly older customers, so they had to get them to feel comfortable with technology. So one, they saw the ease with which you could use it. The salesperson allowed the customer to tool around with it. And as the customer started becoming more comfortable, they actually moved from the iPad to the kiosk which was within the store. So this meant that the wait time at the teller dropped significantly, and the salespeople were able to service more number of customers. And the important point was that they wanted the customers to move online, and which was the biggest achievement. So we were able to achieve a couple of things at business level, at the customer interaction level, and all of that was because there was understanding of how the interaction is the most important component in the brand's experience with its customers. For the second case study, this is more closer home. This is for a customer who is in the hospitality and travel industry. So the bigger screen is the before, and the smaller screen is the after design. The purpose was to take away from the menu-like interaction and make it very non-linear, because we understand that in travel, discovery, having just tooling around, you may not plan a holiday. We still want you to look at a faraway place and feel happy about it, and aspire to go there and put it properly in your bucket list and things like that. So the purpose was that we wanted people to kind of interact more with the website, and the second goal was that we wanted it to be present on the social channels. So these two were the big motives. These are the two big briefs that we received, and basis that brief, we redesigned it. To be more non-linear, and the results were again spectacular. This is my favorite, and here I would like to do a little bit of tell you a little bit about Code Halos, which is a trademark of a framework that Cognizant has created. What it very simply means is that as each one of us today interact with digital channels, we are leaving traces behind. And when these traces are interacting, so if my Code Halo interacts with the brand's Code Halo, then it's possible to understand the customer more, understand the community, understand the interaction a little bit better, and hence be much more engaging. So what we did here was that this is for an hospital. This was to make the ICU paperless. While the goal was to make the ICU paperless, as we were doing our research on designing the platform and the interaction UI, etc., was what we realized was that there was a lot of information that was going missing between what was being put down by the. It's very scary. Imagine this happening in an ICU. So there was information that was lost in translation, literally, and the paper was not capturing everything. The issue was not just that the paper was not capturing it, but it was because the situation that they are in. So they have very less response times because they're in an emergency situation all the time, and the emergency comes in a rush hour, which is typically in the evening. So how do you ensure that the ICU is working at its optimum? And when we took it paperless, that was the core reason what we did. And the same iPad became central to actually recording all of the data for the patients. What we did was that we understood how it is used by the doctor, by the nursing assistant, by the administrative assistants, and there are a couple of other stakeholders who are there actually in the ICU. The pharmacy is also part of that. So we designed again the interaction based on which is important to whom at what point of time, what information they have to put, what is numerical, what can be textual, etc., etc. And the best part of this, and all the other case studies aside, this is really very close to our business, is because the moving to the iPad application actually dropped the mortality rate by 20%. Obviously, there were two things that were happening. The fact that it became paperless was a big contributor, but also the fact that you were able to transition to a digital platform without causing more confusion is a big part of that. And with that, I'll jump into a little bit of touching on the interactivity as we see for the future. So as we work for a lot of our clients on the mobility, is that the clients are still not ready to take the leap of faith. The mobility, whatever design or the application solutions that we propose, the client still views the device as just a smaller version of the website or the desktop. And what that means is that the designers are sometimes forced, or maybe it's also what has become the norm, that it is typically about, is it RWD or should it be AWD, and the discussion is, the jury isn't out, so it could be either ways, and etc., etc. But what one has to understand is that the interaction, if you view it that way, it is limited to the constraints that the device has. So if you are viewing the interaction only basis the design, basis the device, then you kind of don't come up with an optimal interaction for the consumer or the customer. And that brings me to the second point, that mobility is becoming mobile devices or devices which are wearables, etc., etc. They're becoming such a part of our daily life that when we look at interactions, or we have to look at distributed computation, we have to look at assuming that the consumer at the same point of time will transition from mobile to web. You will not, it becomes the onus of the brand to understand when the consumer is actually transitioning and ensure that as they're transitioning, the experience is exactly still the same. And naturally, the design hence becomes very critical when you're looking at it not from the web experience and then saying that, okay, how do we translate that to web, to the mobile, and then to the wearable device, etc., etc. The third thing, what we understand is that when we interact with the screen, our assumption is that it's just a one-on-one interaction. But you'll have to think of it that if you look at the social networks, or if you look at how we are collaborating on the cloud, the interaction is no longer between a person to a device. It is actually people coming together. It's multiple people, multiple time sets, different geographies, different devices coming together and working together. So what challenges then do we have, and what interaction solutions for that? What are the interaction solutions for that? And what I hear is that artificial intelligence, as it pulls in more data, is likely to drive the future of the interaction design, where the systems are going to be already understanding what the emotional state of the consumer is, and probably throw up the interaction or whatever the brand experience is based on that. And if you think of it, it makes sense, because when you go into a retail store, the salesperson very quickly judges, makes quick judgments about who you are, what is your interest level, are you just walking in to browse, are you a serious buyer, who's the decision maker, if there are two people walking in, who's the influencer, etc., etc. And based on that, they do a hard pitch of sales, or probably will just say that, okay, this is available, that is available. So that's the future of interactivity as we see it. And with that, I just wanted to kind of sum up some of the things as key takeaways from this session. One is that when we are interacting with artifacts, there are certain meanings that are encoded in it. We bring our set of meanings to it. Combined with all of this, there is a new set of meanings we actually take back after that interaction. If that be the case, you will have to understand how the consumer is behaving. And here, the understanding of how that online behavior is, or to be able to predict the behavior, you will have to depend both on the typical technology variables, and you'll have to look at the marketing variables. When I say marketing variables, it means that you will have to step out. You will have to go out and see that when consumers are interacting, let's say with food, how is their, how do they, what is their consumption like during a week, during a month, during a year? How do they treat their preferences? How do they, how do these preferences manifest in the way when they're interacting with brands or products or services?